Always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
Or
and Pete.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses. She's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hello. Okay, everybody. I do love how quickly we go from just a short spring to full-on hot summer. It's hot outside. It's going to get muggy tomorrow. It's going to be in the high 80s. A little bit of whiplash, as always, for our weather here in Chicago. But so glad that you're joining us. And I hope that you're happy, healthy, and safe wherever you are today. And that you're hydrating. Someone sent me a quote that was, I like to say hydrated when I'm stressed because then I'm peeing too much to think about things or to be mad at people. But I can do both. I don't. I'm a multitasker that way. You know what? I pee angry is all I'm saying. Thank you all so much again for joining us. And it is beautiful and sunny today, and there's so much news. I often ask what's top of mind for you. However, today I have been working most of the day, my day job, looking at what the cuts to SNAP benefits are going to look like, and it is not good. Not just the SNAP benefits, but also as we've heard through the news throughout the day about the proposed cuts in order to benefit the richest. Look, are there going to be some tax savings for folks for a couple of years? Middle class people will, those of us earning between I think 30 and 80,000 will have some, I guess, some breaks, some a percentage of what we're paying, a little bit less. I would rather keep my tax. I know this is horrible to say, and no one likes to pay taxes. Nobody does. I don't like doing it either. I've never understood the concept of filling out massive amounts of paperwork only to send it in and have them tell me, actually, what we found was, well, if you already know what I owe and what I earned, why'd you bother asking me in the first place? Whatever it is, look, it causes us all a lot of stress. However, I would rather go through that, or if they're going to do something about taxes, streamline it, make it more efficient, transparent, do something that sort of takes that burden off of us, and continue to support programs that make sure that kids have a roof over their heads, food to eat throughout the day to keep them nourished and educated so they can think while they're in school and not be stressed and have their stomachs rumble, and make sure that people who are working and supporting their families have access to good paying jobs. These are the things that we want to make sure that we're providing for other people. And we got a caller yesterday, and what I was thinking about last night in reaction to this caller who said that he wanted to know why people were so angry. And I realized there's a couple things there. We told him, right? We explained some of the issues that were important. I actually used some, whether it's personal information or larger scale information. I talked a little bit about what happened under Governor Rauner, which was basically a micro example of what we're doing at the bigger level, at the federal level, what's been going on in states after state after state after state, where they've unveiled elements of Project 2025 to eliminate access to abortion care for women who are experiencing sepsis or losing their uterus, or are causing catastrophic health care emergencies for some of these families who would love to have kids, or women who, for none of our business reasons, are having access to health care and reproductive care. They've been suppressing wages across the country. There are places where people are still only earning $7.25 an hour because their state legislatures refuse to raise the minimum wage. We have right to work states where it's much harder for labor to organize and make sure that workers are safe in the workplace, that we don't have 14-year-olds working in sawmills and getting killed in places like Wisconsin or in places like Florida where they want kids to work all night and then go to school the next day. These are things that are actually happening. They're tangible things that are happening. And you know what? It might not be happening to me, but that's how liberals and progressives and Democrats Democrats think, or at least that's the party. That's the group of people that most closely reflect the things that make me scream about what we should be fighting for. And that is, I'm thinking about what about them? I told our listener yesterday that right now my family is not suffering directly from what's happening directly, but I worry about the people that it is affecting, whether it is our friends in the trans community, people who are LGBTQ plus, people who are in medical danger, who don't have access to health care, senior citizens who are on the well, I'm not experiencing that. I don't give a rat's ass about what he was mad about during Biden's administration. His car got broken into in a decent neighborhood. Oh my God. Because what's going to happen under these cuts that the Republicans are proposing is going to kick 500,000 Illinoisans, just Illinoisans, off of Medicaid. They're going to lose access to health care. More than half of that are children. It's absolutely disgusting. So right now, the House Republicans are in committee markup sessions. They're voting on this bill that will slash $880 billion, $8,800 billion from Medicaid over the next decade. And that's just the floor, not the ceiling. They're saying that's where we're starting at in order to make sure that the richest maintain tax cuts. Oh, by the way, when I said at the beginning of this that the middle class will see some percentage of a tax easing, I guess, that's not permanent. You know who it is permanent for? The top 1%. Those tax cuts will be permanent. That's what they're working on. So congratulations. Oh my God, it's hot outside. So here's the thing. And the other thing that my husband was asking about in relation to this caller who was, why are people so angry, is that labor, when I tell you, and the hundreds of thousands of people in Chicago or Illinois or millions of people across the country or around the world are out in the streets, how do you see that? Right? Repeatedly, where people are saying this is causing harm, that you go, I don't get it. And and you're not actually asking. You're not asking in a way that you want to be informed. You're asking in a way that you want to continue to expose your douchery. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so, and here's the thing. All of this has been sold to MAGA as, in regards to cutting Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP benefits. It's all been sold to them as cutting waste and fraud, right? That's what they say, and abuse. But the reconciliation package will force Medicaid recipients that are earning at or above the federal poverty line, right? These are people that are barely able to survive. And at the same time, people who are mad at those who are receiving benefits, who are living at the poverty line. Then you get mad at people who are homeless and trying to find a place where they can either build community or try to stay safe or dry or warm. You want those people expelled. You want those of us who are telling you that we are suffering. And your answer is, why don't you go and volunteer more? Why don't you? And the idea that because I was mentioning yesterday that some of the people that are protesting, many of them are caregivers working in the industry where we want to make sure that seniors are cared for, people with disability, children whose parents are working. And the idea that they should get a different job. We already don't have enough people to fill those positions and support the people that need it most. And when I use the example of Governor Rauner's cuts, these barbaric cuts to services across the state of Illinois, we still have not recovered. There's a program called Early Intervention that helps babies to 3 years old. So from birth to 3 years old, for babies who are born with a disability or are not thriving, babies who are having developmental delays. We have a waiting list right now of a year because, and I can personally track that back with data to when I mentioned yesterday, there were providers that we were not able to pay with it, not in a timely manner. Sometimes it was 6 months. It grew to 9 months to a year. For some people, it was 18 months. And you had these providers, these organizations that provide this, whether it's PT, OT, physical therapy, occupational therapy, so that a baby can maybe use their fingers to pick up cereal or to later pick up a pencil or a pen or a crayon. We have a 1-year wait because a lot of those people left the industry when it became inconsistent, when there was not any way to know if they were going to get paid and able to survive and feed their families. So we have a 1-year wait now for babies in order to help them reach their potential. And what I've said before is if when you invest in people, you save lives. And our friend, and I use that term lightly, who said that, these people should be volunteering or get a different job. We rely on those folks now to make sure that people are safe as possible, as happy as can be. And if you invest in people, you save lives. You also, if it makes you feel better, will save you money in the long term. Because the longer you wait to help a child reach their potential, to walk, to talk, to pick up those crayons, to communicate in whatever way that is, because my son will never talk. My son will never go to the bathroom by himself. He will never live independently. The more we invest in him being able to take care of himself to the best of his ability, the more you save later. Does that make you feel better? Is that something you can understand? No. It's that your car got broken into in Lakeview, and that made you feel unsafe under the Biden administration, even though more people in the United States per population died during the pandemic. When I think about what happened, all the things that we worried about under Trump, the way that was handled, the number of lives lost can be traced to the fact that he destroyed, we can say dismantled, but destroyed the playbook to responding to a pandemic that was developed under President Obama's administration. Because what? Because the black guy had come up with that plan, with that solution? There's so many things. At any rate, okay. Have I said my piece? I think I've said I need to go hydrate. I say that because I have to go to a break. Let me put my. I should just put my meditation. Here we go. This will help us lead into the break. I want to thank our sponsors for making that opening rant possible. Thank you to Source Solar. Go to source.solar and make an appointment. Maybe it's time for you to put solar panels on your roof and join 100,000 happy customers in the Chicagoland area. That's not going to do it for me. Let's do this one instead. Hold on. And we want to thank our friends at Kids Above All. Go to kidsaboveall.org and reserve your tickets for our performance coming up. Stand Up for Kids on June 5th at the Greenhouse Theater. I just found out, by the way, I will be at the Laugh Factory on July 3rd. So you can go to laughfactory.com for the Las Locas comedy show on July 3rd. People always give me a hard time about not letting you know where I'll be. I'll also be at Porch Fest on June 13th. Not performing, as we all know. We'll be broadcasting live June 13th from Porch Fest, as well as Minocqua Brewing Company Tap Room on June 17th. There's a lot coming up. This summer's already too busy. I'm going to take a nap during the break. More after this on WCPT 820 and KKNW 1150.
Dive deeper into the heart of the news and stories at WCPT 820 and across the Midwest by checking out our website, heartlandsignal.com.
It's the coverage I can count on every time.
For the latest news updates, in-depth analysis, compelling stories, comprehensive election coverage, live streams, and thought-provoking opinions, head to heartlandsignal.com.
When I need to know, they're there.
They keep me informed and updated wherever I am.
Stay informed with WCPT 820, your go-to source for where facts matter.
Feeling overwhelmed, kind of like, hey, I can't remember how to relax. Well, you're not alone. Illness, accidents, sheer stress can cause everything from headaches to feeling constantly on edge. If this is you, give Michelle Beaubier at Resource Wellness in Wilmette a call. Michelle is a biodynamic craniosacral therapist. She also teaches Qigong, a form of moving meditation. She helps people with post-surgical problems, concussions, migraines, insomnia, the effects of trauma, and more. Michelle helps her clients balance their nervous systems and achieve deep rest that can lead to profound change. As a PTSD survivor herself, she gets it, and she loves helping people back into balance. As one client said, Michelle has been my reset button. So if you need a reset, call Michelle at 773-991-4357 or check her website, resourcewellnessllc.com. 773-991-4357, resourcewellnessllc.com.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Union Strong Chicago continues to lead the way with progressive values and in preserving democracy. Your support of the Minocqua Brewing Company Super PAC efforts in Wisconsin and beyond strengthens the fight against MAGA Republicans. You can now purchase progressive beers like Labor Lager, Love Wins Fruited Sour, and the Resistance IPA in Chicago at Rogers Park Provisions, Diversity Beer, Wine, and Spirits in Lakeview, Park West Liquor, Wine, and Beer in Lincoln Park, Logan Square Liquors, and Tip Top Food and Liquors in Westtown. Visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com for all their Chicagoland locations. As always, no matter how bad our sports teams are, please drink responsibly.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now.
All right, let's hit it.
At 773-763-9278.
I got a lot to say.
It's Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Well, I hope you all have a lot to say because, man, I said a lot already. Thank you for the hug. Someone just sent me a virtual hug from the 773. I appreciate that. And let's see what else. We have a couple of texts coming in. Thank you for that. And, I'm getting my Social Security. That guy yesterday said it loud and clear. He has his and too bad about others. That's what I'm saying is that I guess that's I don't know if it's what makes me a liberal. It feels like it though. Is that what you would say, Jim? That I don't think about like what am I getting, but I hope that other people aren't suffering. Like what about them? That's how I often think. How are you doing, Jim?
Hi, Patty. Anyway, you consider yourself anything you want. I just vote Democratic. That's it. I don't consider,
right, Democrat. Right.
I don't consider any of that nonsense about this or that or the other thing. But I was thinking about February when the pandemic broke out and Woodward and the Stumper are discussing it, and he said, this is going to be really bad. And that was in February, and I had to isolate myself in March. He never let on for a month. Now, if you're not angry about that, you're the President of the United States, you know there's a deadly pandemic coming, and you don't say a word because it might affect your future in politics.
Right.
Now, and I consider that to be an absolute cardinal sin as far as I'm concerned. The other thing is, Patty, Romney years ago was at a Republican fundraiser, and he stiffed the bartender, right? He stiffed him, and the bartender had a tape of Romney, and he thought about it. He said, "Jesus, this guy's a cheapskate." You know, what is all of his talk? He's a venture capitalist. A vulture capitalist is more like it. And he stiffs the bartender, so the bartender gives it to Carter's grandson, who's running for, he's got a Democratic arm. And he ended the thing, he says exactly what the Republicans have been saying since I even read anything in history about it. They are the makers and we are the takers. I mean, they really believe this. I mean, this is going back to the 20s, and even though they steal and rob every dime you could possibly think of, but that doesn't mean a thing. The other thing is, taxes, for Pete's sake. The taxes, I was happy to pay taxes, Betty. When I had a few good years, I thought, I had to scrape up a few extra grand, okay. But still, it meant that I was having a good year, Patty. So, I mean, I wasn't crying in my beer over it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But, yeah, and the other thing is, take this today. He goes, we saved the white Afrikaners from genocide. Now, this is what he said today. And in the meantime, there's thousands of trucks with medicine and food to bring into Palestine, and he doesn't say a word about that. Right. He doesn't say a word about these thousands of trucks trying to get into Palestine to save lives.
Well, not just that. I don't think people are talking enough about this deal that he made with the Mexican drug cartel to let 17 members, El Chapo and his family, into the country. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, well, sure, because but the Chapo's got a little bit of money.
Yes.
I mean, he's not going to deal with anybody who's broke. That's for sure. You think you're going to Mar-a-Lago broke, what would a homeless person get out of Trump at Mar-a-Lago? That'd be the last place I'd go if I was looking for a handout. Would be Mar-a-Lago. You got to be loaded. Whatever. But I mean, mad. If you're not mad about this guy, you've got to be nuts. The man doesn't. He doesn't believe in the Constitution. He doesn't believe in anything. All he believes is staying out of prison. They had him dead to rights. Jack Smith had him dead to rights in 2 cases. What really gets me is they should have sped it up. They should have sped up the trials, because they would have crucified him in prison, in court. You saw the only time he went to court with I mentioned it the other day. He had 12 jurors there. What did they take? An hour and a half to convict him on 34 felony counts? Yeah, I mean, how many people can walk the streets with 34 felony counts, Patty? I don't know anybody. You know, I mean, come on. It's just not only that, but everything's fake news with this guy. Fake. That's what Republicans use it. Fake. What does that mean? It doesn't mean a thing.
I know. Considering the network that spreads the most lies is the one that talks about them in such glowing, terminology.
So what are the Democrats? When the Democrats have news, it's fake. But if the Republicans have news, it's real. I mean, how can God's name could you possibly walk around like that? I mean, that's impossible.
It's exhausting to deal with people who just espouse so many dumb ideas.
Well, yeah, but they were explaining why they love Trump, and the reason why they love Trump is because he's made enemies out of black people, people with gender dysphoria, whatever the case may be. He's made enemies out of these people. And they also have this crazy notion that Jesus is going to come back to Jerusalem. This has been going on for hundreds and hundreds, for millennium.
I know.
The literal Bible translation is Christ going to come back to Jerusalem and so on. And the guy that runs the house believes this. He's got 10 commandments out there. Yeah. These people are off their rockers, Patty.
Correct.
Patty.
I know.
They're off their rockers. But the point is, we got 4 years of this nightmare. In 4 years, and not only that, but they throw him on TV like it was the Prince of Siam. Every time, but at least he wears a different outfit now. Somebody must have told him, Bob Mackey or something must have got all
there's only so much you can clean diaper pants. That's all I'm saying. I gotta run to another caller, Jim.
I know you do, Patty. Yeah, take care. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you, Jim. Let's get to Paul in Seattle. Paul, what's on your mind, my friend?
No, this just makes me so angry. My partner, her son, if this goes through, I don't know what's going to happen to him. He has type 1, he's 45 years old. He lives with her. He's got type 1 diabetes. He's blind. He was born only with one ear, so he's partially deaf. Mm-hmm. He's with the type 1 diabetes. He's already when he was in his 30s, he's had a stroke and he's already had a heart attack. But he also has he's developed in the last 5 or 6 years this convulsive disorder. I guess it's gastroparesis, but he suddenly gets really nauseated and he just starts retching and he dry heat. And he's retched so hard he can't breathe. So we have to take him to the emergency. We have to take him to the emergency room. And his blood sugar goes wacky and his blood pressure has been dangerously high from this. And you go to the emergency room, and they usually admit him to the ICU, and he's in there for, usually probably 2-3 days. Sometimes we try to send him home right away. We're like, no. We'll just be back later today. You got to stabilize him. He's on Medicaid, and he was doing really well for the last, 7 or 8 months. But in the last couple of weeks, he's been in 3 times. The last time, he was in for 7 days. And it's that's the longest ever. And then they released him. Well, he was back within 24 hours. And they stabilized him again, and he's been okay. But, there's no way anybody could afford this. And what do they want him to do? Just die? They're all about, Patty, these people are the worst, most disgusting, evil people.
Yep.
I don't know if I told you that, those defunded the audio library for the blind. And I put this on Facebook, and I got all this invective, just hateful. How do you know this? What are you getting? Where are you getting? You're a bunch of crap. And I'm like, well, number one, I work in service for the blind. Number two, I am blind, and news travels in the blind community a lot faster than it does in the news media, which doesn't cover all the cuts that Doge is making anyway. So there. And this guy replies to me, well, I'm sorry that you're blind, but we have to make these cuts or the whole government's going to come collapsing down. So it's he really wasn't sorry that I'm blind. It's just that's just the way that has to be.
Right.
So if they're going to say this, and part of my article was about how they cut Meals on Wheels, and I was like, yeah, well, it's a good thing Mom died last year because she starved to death this year. I don't know how I would have taken care of her for 5 years if I had to. I can't. I can't cook for her for one person who only needs to eat 12 $1,200 a day. She only weighed 100 pounds.
Well, and this brings me back to my point too. Is that that's why we think about, you're thinking about your partner's son, right? You're thinking like, what if it had been your mom, but it's happening to other people and their moms and their parents and the people that they love. So you're not just you're thinking about from your personal experience of how hard it is, and imagining how it's going to be for hundreds of thousands, millions of people, and that's the difference. We worry about that.
Yeah, and they're not all Democrats.
Yes!
I mean,
oh my God, don't even get me started on the states that are going to suffer the most. I'm sorry, I'm yelling again. Hi, Paul.
Well,
yes.
68 of the 68 of 70 counties that are most Medicaid enrollment all went for Trump.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
that's why Hawley.
And these are all in the. It's all in the Kentucky, Tennessee.
Your banjo, not mine, Paul. I'm just saying. I got to run to the break. Right. I got these hard breaks now, Paul. I'm so sorry, and I appreciate your concern, and you're absolutely right about that. Thank you, Paul.
Take care.
Take care. Have a good night. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk to Sarah Blessing, co-founder of the Indiana-based Project Next, where they're striving to reduce hate, fear, and division. More in a moment on WCPT 820 and KKNW 1150.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Cloudy skies tonight with areas of fog and a low temperature of 56 degrees. Scattered showers and storms Thursday with a high temperature of 88. Could see one or two strong storms. Winds out of the south at 15 to 30 miles an hour. Friday, a few showers in the afternoon with a high temperature of 87. Saturday, sunny, 73. Sunny and cooler Sunday with a high temperature around 59 degrees. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 75.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter. Tonight on Democracy Now!
In a major policy shift, President Trump orders the end of U.S. sanctions on Syria and meets with Syria's new president. Then, to a Salvadoran journalist who had to flee El Salvador, along with others from the news outlet El Faro, after Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele threatened to arrest them for exposing how Bukele made secret deals with Salvadoran gangs.
All those stories and more tonight at 10 on WCPT 820.
Save big on everything for your next project when you shop at Menards. Whether you're a bird enthusiast or simply enjoy the sight and sounds of nature, our Enchanted Garden Songbird Supreme bird food is a must-have year-round. Get a 20-pound bag of Enchanted Garden Songbird Supreme on sale now through May 18th. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for more great deals happening this week.
Save big money at Menards.
WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Tomorrow on Choose You's, Richard will be joined by Wendy Singer, Executive Director of No Shame on You, speaking about Our Turn to Talk, a new documentary about the mission to end stigma around mental health challenges. Robert Emmons, leader of 1AM Illinois, will be joining him, and Ron Firestein of Triumph of Genius, Edwin Lind, Polaroid, and the Kodak patent war. So that's around Choose Views from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. It is weird. I wake up with Richard every single day. Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. And joining us right now on the line is Sarah Blessing from Project Next. Hey, Sarah, how are you doing tonight?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm trying to stay hydrated. That's my mission. That's the one thing I can focus on is just keep drinking water. And then later on, other beverages. Just
drink it up, girl.
So tell us about Project Next and how this, well, first tell us what Project Next is.
Project Next is the brand new media company that my co-founder Tim Peck and I came up with after the election. And it started in mid-December, so we're pretty new. And it's all about stopping the hate, fear, and division that other media sources, social media, have really pumped out. Really just uniting our communities and showing that our neighbors who vote differently than us are not our enemies. It's the people at the top running the show, the money people that are, easily causing us to be so divided.
And so you're trying to make sure that, we don't look at our neighbors, regardless of how they voted, with suspicion or contention, right? That's sort of the goal?
Yeah, I found this out for myself when I ran for state house in the last election. I ran in a very gerrymandered district in southern Indiana, close to Louisville, Kentucky. 7 out of 10 voters here vote Republican. When I go door to door and meet these people voting Republican, the majority of them are fantastic, wonderful people who have absolutely no idea what is going on at the Indiana State House. They don't know that the Republicans they're electing are hurting us and making it harder for everyday Hoosiers to live and work and provide for their families. And so we have to tell them. We can't just scream at them and say, you're stupid for voting wrong. We have to say, do you know what they're doing?
That's my job. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so it's really hard. A lot of my time I'm spending convincing Democrats that I promise our neighbors that vote Republican are not evil people. I promise. You just have to go out and talk to them. And it's frustrating to me because, people are just saying those people are voting against your rights. Some of them are. Some of them know what they are doing. But the majority of people really don't know because they're following their right-wing media, and that media is pumping out completely different messages. They're saying they're on their side and they're fighting for them. And so we have to kind of be mad at the people tricking them and not being mad at the people being tricked.
And that's something that I vacillate between the first description of, those people are evil, not evil, but you know what I'm saying? I think specifically the people who know, who want to hurt other people, who thought that people were going to get hurt. They just didn't think it would be them. I try not to laugh. I try not to laugh at people who are farting around and finding out because they are suffering. As we just mentioned with one of our callers from Seattle, that these massive cuts coming down from D.C. in regards to Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP benefits, it's going to impact red states, people who voted for Trump, and disproportionately. In states where they don't have as much funding because, states like Illinois, we pay more in federal taxes and get less back in terms of services and support. Our money goes to those red states. So if you shut that off, it's going to hurt the people that voted for Trump. So how do you cut through that and explain that it is the legislature in Indianapolis that's causing more direct harm and those are controlled by Republicans?
This is why we started Project Next, to show people how to do it, because it is hard. You have to talk to your neighbors. You have to engage in your community. You have to go to meetings. You have to pick something that you care about and then actually get involved. You can't just post, mean things on the internet. You actually have to meet with people and explain to them what's going on. A lot of people don't know what's happening. So our shows at Project Next, we try to educate easily. This is what's happening to schools. This is what's happening to libraries. This is what your state legislators have been voting on, and break it down in ways that people can understand and not the confusing jargon that the political people get.
Now, did you grow up in Indiana, my friend?
I did. I grew up in Indiana in Floyd County, and now I'm in the county above us in Harrison County, which is a very rural. I moved here when I remarried, and I have 3 children, and I really want to protect public schools. And in Indiana, our public schools are being defunded. We're one of the worst states in the country for defunding public schools.
Oh, it's so hard. Now, what would you say, how was your household, growing up? Were there conversations about politics and policy that was going on, whether it was state level or federal level?
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky. My mom is a retired teacher, and my dad is retired from the Louisville Orchestra. He's a musician, and they really taught us a lot about what was going on. And I didn't necessarily get the news every day. I got a lot of, we care about everybody. Everybody's equal. Like one day I asked my parent, when I was hearing that some parents didn't like it if you had a black boyfriend or something. I'm born in 1980, so this is in the 1990s. And I came home and asked, what would you do if I had a black boyfriend? That'd be funny because we had very few of them in our school. And my dad said, well, it wouldn't matter what type of person he is he treating you well? And so I'm lucky that I got that foundation from my parents.
And I think that, we were talking about this earlier, sort of that you mentioned, caring about everybody. That seems to be what comes from what conservatives, what Republicans have done for decades. This isn't something new. This is, whether it's Roger Ailes or even going before that, with the rise of fascism in the 30s, we could sort of, pull at any string. But kind of convincing people that you are the most important. Everything that's happening, when someone gets something, it means it's at your expense. What people of color, whether it's women, whatever they're getting, it means that you get less. They've been taught that it's a pie, that that respect, dignity, and resources it's all in a pie, and so that's the hard part to cut through. How do you manage that? How do you manage the messaging to sort of? For me, it's about softening hearts, and that's a huge lift.
So that's such a good question. Yes, empathy is a big thing. And I always like to try to make the case that our community is only as safe as the people in it suffering the most. Like, it doesn't matter how much money you have, how much protection, how many guns you have, and you're safe. If your community isn't safe, you and your children are at risk. You have to go out and engage in the outside world. So I try to paint it a picture of, even if you didn't care about your neighbor that's hungry, it makes your family less safe when they're starving. And building from there, but also just talking to different people and talking about people that are suffering, because I think humans tend to just want to put blinders on. They don't want to feel sad. You know what I mean? They don't like that feeling. So instead of feeling sad, they put blinders on and ignore it and act like, homelessness is because they chose it or they made a mistake. That's their fault. And it's like, no, a lot of people are one bad paycheck away or one medical bill away from not being able to pay their rent. It's not because they're bad people. And it's just breaking down those lies that they've, chosen to believe, because it's sad. And it is sad, but it's okay to feel that way and to try to help.
Well, I think that you made me think about something, which is people don't want to feel sad. Yet anger is what drives so much of this. And it's not that they want to feel angry. It's that they're more comfortable feeling angry than they do feeling sad about somebody else suffering.
And that's the part that makes me so upset personally, is that's the media and that's social media. They really feed on our fears and on our anger. It's very easy to motivate them that way, to keep them engaged in the TikTok video or whatever algorithm thing they're profiting off of. It is much harder to make them stop and care about the person being hurt. And so that's why we're hoping people will tune into Project Next and listen to some of our shows, because that's the point. Empathy, getting involved, meeting your neighbors, talking to them, learning, growing together. Also, hopelessness is really hard to combat, too. Mm-hmm. People see the fear, they see the division, and then they turn off the news and they tune out. That's a lot of people I meet. They don't know what's going on because they're so sick of the yelling from both sides. And I understand that, so I try to show them that what we're doing is different. We're not going to feed into the anxiety and fear. We're going to give you hopeful things that you can do to engage and to make our neighborhoods better.
What in those conversations, and I know Timothy Peck and you both ran for office and are running Project Next Media. Again, folks, you can follow Sarah Blessing on Substack. She is the co-founder of Project Next Media. And where else should folks be following you and find out more information about Project Next?
So we're on Facebook. That's where most people watch their shows. And then we have a YouTube channel. Those are the two main ways people watch our content. I like YouTube the best because you can subscribe to our channel and then you can go to playlists and see all of our different shows and pick out which shows you like the best. So we have a show with Brian Zimmerman, who's a Special Forces veteran that lives 20 minutes away from me. I just met him when I started doing Project Next, and he said he wanted to tell his whole life story on our shows. So we gave him a show, and I interview him most Mondays, and it's pretty fantastic. It's fascinating what his life has been like, and that's one way to kind of break down what's it like to be a Special Forces veteran and to go to war and to come back. Like, he had a lot of trouble when he came back, and how is he handling his life? So, but the YouTube channel I would recommend the best, and then Facebook.
Excellent. And you know, I love this idea. I think that, you know, so I have some folks who are texting because, you know, when we talk about, you know, voters who have been tricked by Fox News, by social media, by the lies that Trump, it is very frustrating. And that was one of the things I tried to embrace years ago. And I think I've gotten angrier over the last few years when people suffer.
I understand.
Right. Is that I want to say, I'm sorry you fell for it. That's probably not the best way to put it, right? Sarah, I'm sorry.
And I'll tell you something fascinating because I'm going on this journey now. We are, you know, not partisan media company, which is hard because it's founded by Democrats. So I've been trying to meet Republicans in the area. And I had on my show 2 weeks ago, Jason Kerberg, who is a Republican cop who is running for sheriff in Floyd County. And I met him through Trusted People, and we started talking, and we decided to do a live show together. And when I posted it that I was going to do a show with him and I tagged him, immediately he had multiple people calling and texting him saying, don't do it. Sarah Blessing is a Democrat. You can't trust her. This is a live show. She's going to throw you under the bus.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I trust her. She is a friend. And he called me and he told me, and I said, people told me not to talk to you because you're a Republican and you're a cop and I shouldn't trust you. But I knew enough about him to know he was a good guy. Now he's my friend. He came on the show. I asked him really hard questions. I'm going to have him on again. It was amazing. He is a good person. Yes, he's a registered Republican, but he didn't know a lot about politics. He's just trying to protect our community and keep people safe.
Wow. I was just thinking about when I was at another radio station, I had invited a candidate for alderman who did eventually win. And I had tried inviting him on the show, but everyone told him not to trust me. And so he wouldn't come on the show. Yeah. And we do not have a good relationship. So
I am still working. He's the first one. I'm hoping I'm going to be inviting a lot more, and I'm hopeful that they will come. Hopefully they'll see how I treated Jason and realize I'm not trying to harm anybody. I'm literally trying to unite our community. Jason had the same goal, and that's why he wanted to do it with me, and it was very brave of him.
Well, I want to keep in touch with you and find out more about the conversations that you have. We'd love to help support the work that you're doing. You and Timothy Peck. Are there other folks that we should make sure folks know about from Project Next Media?
Yeah, we have two co-hosts, too. We have Corinne Strait. She's a TikTok influencer, and on Instagram, just as her name, Corinne Strait, Corinne. And she does a lot of quick TikTok videos explaining what is happening with Indiana government. And then she also has her own show called Plots and Politics. And we have a show out tomorrow where we're talking about some stuff that happened in Elkhart, Indiana with the police. And it's documented cases that have been happening. So that show's on live, and then people can comment or they can watch it after, similar to your show.
Outstanding. Well, I appreciate that, Sarah. So again, it's Project Next Media. Find their work on YouTube or Facebook. You can also sign up for Sarah Blessing's Substack as well. I'm trying to send folks that way too for the conversation.
It's Project Next Indiana to find that, and you can put it in your email, and then you can find out about our shows through email if you'd like that way.
Outstanding. Yeah. Well, thank you for the work that you're all doing at Project Next Media. We look forward to talking to you again. And keep your spirits up. And it sounds like you've got a great attitude about it. And I love the work that you guys are doing. It's wonderful.
Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Have a great night. My best to everybody at Project Next Media.
You too. Bye.
Bye, Sarah. Let's take a break here. If you folks want to call it 773-763-9278. You'll be calling on the Credo mobile line. And you can also text us to the same number, 773-763-9278. Credo Mobile, a progressive phone company that is better for all people and the planet. Visit credomobile.com. More after this.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
A new Gallup poll finds that fewer people are eating in a way they consider healthy. And what's more, they're not necessarily enjoying their food. Aside from being a total bummer, this is a problem because food satisfaction is linked to overall satisfaction. The principal researcher at Gallup told us this: people who feel good about their food also usually feel good about other aspects of their life. Well, dietitian Natalie Macari says, yes, it is important to consider all the nutrients you need in a meal, for sure. But determining whether you need a drizzle of sauce on top to make it enjoyable, that also matters. For most people, the satisfaction factor goes down if they are distracted while eating. So put down the phone and focus on your food. something as simple as a device-free dinner with my family, they're the best parts of my day. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Member Week is here at Lowe's. Don't miss your chance to get up to 40% off hundreds of items like paint, stain, tools, flooring, and more. Shop our exclusive deals happening in-store and online from May 8th through May 14th. Not a member? Join My Lowe's Pro Rewards for free today and get ready to save more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
At Straight Talk, we are all about no-brainers. Calling Grandma for her recipe, no-brainer. Streaming one more episode at 2 a.m., big no-brainer. Getting real unlimited data where you buy bananas, the ultimate no-brainer. Switch now and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 5/19/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-source single line activation on qualifying plan. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now.
All right, let's hit it.
At 773-763-9278.
I got a lot to say.
It's Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home, having great conversations with you and our guests. Of course, coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk to Ellie Krug, the host of The Illegal Trans Woman, coming up again at 6:15. And, of course, coming up tomorrow on Joan Esposito's show. It's always great to have Joan back. I'm looking forward to her Bad Attitude Tuesdays, which I believe she is instituting in response to Motivational Mondays. So Joan is back, and as you heard today, she'll have Jess Herrera, staff member at Supermajority, media critics Jennifer Schulze and Bruce Rains, and Greg Palast, filmmaker, author, and investigative journalist. That's tomorrow, live, local, and progressive, weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m. right here on WCPT, Chicago's Progressive Talk for 20 years. Oh, which reminds me, as you know, we celebrated our 20-year anniversary. Dave from Hoffman Estates, I wanted to let you know that Andy is aware of all the pictures. He's been collecting them. He's just making sure that we have all submitted our photos. If anyone has any photos from our anniversary at Max and Benny's, you can send them to our text line. Apparently, we are able to get them off of there. Not a problem. So you can also leave us a voicemail as WCPT celebrates our 20 years on the air. We want to hear your WCPT story. Call 773-467-8202 today and leave a voicemail. We'll be playing some of the messages on the air. Again, the number is 773-467-8202. You can also leave a comment there about today's show or what happens to be on your mind. We'd love to hear from you. And I was talking earlier about these proposed cuts that the Republicans have unveiled for being able to make sure that the wealthiest keep as much money as possible. And again, we talk about making sure that the wealthiest pay their fair share. And there are these Republican think tanks that will tell you that they are paying their fair share, which is absolutely incorrect because it is the percentage that a billionaire pays does not make any impact on whether or not they're going to be able to afford groceries or even the things to be able to take time with their family, to travel, to be able to live in a space that they're comfortable and that they're happy in. I mean, isn't that one of the elements of the Bill of Rights, is the pursuit of happiness? Because here's the thing, most billionaire wealth is not earned. and we've talked about this before. People generally don't earn $1 billion. You do it at the expense of people who are being underpaid, overworked, and about 60% of billionaire wealth comes from one of three sources: inheritance, cronyism and corruption, or monopoly power. And trillions are being gifted in inheritance, particularly creating an aristocratic oligarchy that has immense power on our politics and our economy. This is where Citizens United has had so much power. That's why you have the U-Lines, the Koch brothers, Elon Musk, all these people with their hands in our business, when they are always talking about how they want less government in our lives. And this has caused such an inequality, not just in America, but around the world, of this domination, which really benefits the richest people. And that's why we're out in the streets screaming. That's one of the reasons. Monopoly power escalates extreme wealth, and this creates extreme inequality around the world. And this is where, when U.S. aid was completely dismantled, and by the way, millions of dollars wasted for food that was being delivered places and just rotted on the docks, right? And at some point, we've got to break down how much Doge is not just wasting, right? They told us they were going to save money. First, it was, like $1 trillion, and that was half a trillion dollars. Now we're down to less than 150, and people are like, oh, that's still saving money. Only the costs of paying the people in Doge, because I don't care if you think that Elon Musk is not getting paid. All the people that they have with their AI skills getting into that software and mixing things up and trying to cut waste. What they mean by waste is you and me, that we are a drain on their ability to make and create more wealth. And they're not creating wealth. They are taking it from people who are working hard and playing by the rules. But billionaires that lead corporations control the markets. Like, I was thinking about, there's a company that I love, the chips. I love Siete chips. Have you tried those, Lady B? Siete? They also make a lot of gluten-free choices, and Siete makes fantastic snacks. And they've been bought up by a big corporation. And I was at Walgreens thinking about this, looking at all the different brands and these sort of unique ideas that people come up with for, whether it's product or services. And then, people like Jeff Bezos comes in and makes it absolutely impossible to, maintain, like, when you're offered that kind of money, or, they're going to squeeze you, they're going to make it hard for you to have your product sold someplace. People sell. They're like, all right, I'll take the paycheck. And I often wonder, like, what does that look like now? We, over the years, we've had sort of fictional, portrayals of what it means to break up a business and how people are affected. There's been all kinds of dramatized versions of this, but I think that we're almost so used to it that we don't even think about it. And yet the people in this community, let's use my neighborhood as an example. I remember one of the ultra conservatives was really angry about a building going in our neighborhood at 5150 Northwest Highway, because it was going to give folks an opportunity to live in a safe community, to raise their kids, go to good schools, and people were up in arms because they wanted to bring back, like, the shopping areas. And when I was a kid, I used to be able to walk to Six Corners and go shopping, and there was we had shoe stores, and we had there used to be a haberdasher, right? The hat makers and stuff, and I get that. Like, I remember walking to, shops and restaurants where I lived in a fairly retail area, not retail, not like, boutiques or anything like that, but Northwest Highway in Norwood Park had like a restaurant I like going to. And it's actually better now than it was then, as far as like having a couple restaurants, but that's not coming back. Your brick and mortar is, unless something drastic happens that encourages and enables people who run small businesses to open up a storefront, to have those cute little shops. And look, that's why I support places like my friend Marion Hess over here on Milwaukee Avenue and her Rep Chai, or Gale Street Inn, or Moonflower, or Weston's. Like, that's why I talk about the places in my neighborhood, because I know that without them, we are just a barren hellscape on the Northwest Side, without having vibrant businesses and places for us to, buy goods and create memories. At any rate, okay, let's take a break from that rant. This water is, there's, let me take a break. We'll continue our conversation. We come back in a little while. We're going to talk to Ellie Krug, the host of the Illegal Trans Woman on KTNF AM950. More in a moment.
Whoa, boss, how did that happen?
Mind your business.
I mean, how did a forklift make a shish kebab out of our company truck?
I said mind your business, Billy. It's why we have auto owners. We work with an independent agent to customize our policies. So when the unexpected happens, we know we're covered because unlike you, minding our business is their business.
Oh, that's simple human sense.
In Will and DuPage County, contact Paul Fazio at Fazio Insurance, 815-727-2611 or FazioInsurance.com.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com or at your local CVS.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. It's been another difficult day of testimony in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Julie Walker's at the court.
Cassie broke down on the witness stand crying as she told jurors about the trauma of her decade-long relationship with ex-boyfriend Sean Diddy Combs, who is 17 years older. Cassie says after she left him, Diddy raped her, but she also admitted being intimate with him after that because, in her words, you just don't turn feelings off. Cassie also said Combs and his company paid her $20 million 24 hours after she filed the lawsuit against him. As for why she's willing to testify now in the federal case, Cassie says shame and guilt. Jurors were shown photos of bruising she said Diddy gave her and photos of freak-offs she says he forced her into. Jurors had visible reactions. Cassie is back on the stand Thursday for cross-examination. At court in Manhattan, I'm Julie Walker.
President Trump's urging Qatar to use its influence over Iran to persuade the country's leaders to reach an agreement with the U.S. over its nuclear program. Trump saying at a state dinner,
"There's only two courses. There aren't 3 or 4 or 5. There's 2. There's a friendly and a non-friendly, and the non-friendly is a violent course, and I don't want that."
Boeing has secured a pair of major orders in the Middle East, one worth $96 billion from Qatar, the other from a company in Saudi Arabia. Hospital and health officials say Israeli airstrikes pounded northern and southern Gaza today, killing at least 70 people. The dead include almost 24 children. A mixed day on Wall Street. Seth Sutel has closing numbers.
The S&P 500 edged up 0.1%. Most stocks in the index fell, but solid gains for several heavyweight technology companies like NVIDIA helped pull the index higher. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 89 points, about 0.2%. The Nasdaq rose 0.7%.
And the CDC says an estimated 80,000 people died from a drug overdose in the U.S. last year, but that was 30,000 fewer than in 2023. This is AP News. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. questioned on Capitol Hill today. Ed Donahue has the story.
Kennedy's budget includes deep cuts to infectious disease prevention, medical research, and maternal health, and a boost to his Make America Healthy Again initiative.
The United States remains the sickest developed nation in the world, and we spend $4.5 trillion annually on health care.
Kennedy called downsizing necessary cost cutting. He also refused to recommend parents follow the nation's childhood vaccination schedule.
None of them have been safety tested in pre-licensing studies against a placebo.
One senator pointed out 3 of the vaccines
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com.
Cloudy skies tonight with areas of fog and a low temperature of 56 degrees. Scattered showers and storms Thursday with a high temperature of 88. Could see 1 or 2
During the
strong
Civil War,
storms.
11% of the Confederate Army was made up of enslaved men
Friday, a
forced to
few
join.
showers in the afternoon with a high temperature of 87. Saturday, sunny, 73. Sunny and cooler Sunday with a high temperature around 59 degrees. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 73.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. During the Civil War, 11% of the Confederate Army was made up of enslaved men forced to join. One of these men was Robert Smalls. Smalls was a deckhand on the Confederate supply ship known as the Planter. During his time, Smalls learned as much as he could about navigating the ship so he and others could escape. And on May 13th of 1862, while officers were sleeping, Smalls, along with 16 others, took the Planter out of the Charleston harbor, navigating through all 5 checkpoints while heading to open waters looking for the Union blockade. Smalls raised a white flag of surrender, letting Union soldiers board the ship, giving them guns, ammo, and documents about planned Confederate attacks. Being a wealth of information, Smalls was given the role of the Union Navy captain. Stories like Smalls are one of the many factors convincing President Lincoln to allow free African Americans to serve in the Union Army. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. I want to say hello to our friends listening in the evenings on KTNF AM950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and our friends continuing to listen in the evenings on 1150 KKNW in Seattle, Washington. And I want to thank our sponsors, Source Solar. Go to source.solar and make an appointment. Maybe it's time for you to get some solar panels on your house or business and join over 100,000 happy customers in the Chicagoland area. And we will be broadcasting live on June 17th from the Madison Tap Room for Minocqua Brewing Company. So make your plans to drive up with us. Well, not with us. I mean, if you want to follow me there, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. I stop a lot to go to the bathroom and you'll be annoyed. What is she pulling over for again? I'm just saying. I have a weak bladder. At any rate, I'll be at the Madison Tap Room in Minocqua for Minocqua Brewing Company on June 17th. And you can go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. Sign up for their newsletter, please, if you would. Sign up for their Substack. And if you purchase some Minocqua Brewing's Woke Coffee, that helps me out with the work I do for them. And my latest column is up, From Chicago to the Vatican. An unexpected gift, because I'm still kind of geeked out about having the Pope from Chicago. And we want to thank our friends at Kids Above All. Go to kidsaboveall.org and buy your tickets for the comedy show coming up on June 5th. I'll be hosting and performing along with comedian Paul Farvar, KB Marion, and Chris Barnes. So we would love to have you join us that evening and support the work they do to help children live happy, healthy, safe lives. I want to bring our wonderful monthly guest to the show, also a host on KTNF AM950, the illegal trans woman. Ellie Krug joins us, writer, lawyer, human. I love all of that about you. Hi, Ellie. How are you doing today?
Hey, Patty. I am just thrilled to be here.
Thrilled
to be back talking to you. And by the way, I have a small bladder, too. I know exactly what you're talking about with the frequent stops.
Yes. Do you have to get the aisle seat when you fly?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know.
Or I don't drink anything for like 5 hours before I get on the plane.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm glad to talk to you because I was listening to a conversation on another, somewhere wherever I was listening to it, Ellie. Let's just leave it there. And we talked about this last week. This conversation that Governor Newsom had, that Rahm Emanuel has had, trying to appeal to what they're calling, I guess, the moderate Democrats or maybe Republicans who, if only there weren't trans women in sports, Ellie, then maybe, or if we didn't, and it's like we don't bring it up. Of course, I am now, but it's just that this isn't what is affecting people day to day, and yet they seem to have hung their hat on that's why Democrats lost. Gavin Newsom and Rahm Emanuel saying if we just stop focusing on issues like that, we'd be better off. And I'm not here for throwing anyone under the bus or diminishing human rights for anyone. Anyway, your thoughts?
Oh, my gosh. This trans girls in sports issue is one that is very tricky for a lot of people. I think that there are a lot of people that support trans people, but they're like, that sports thing, just doesn't seem fair. I will tell you, John Oliver, the HBO host, did in about a month ago, he did a wonderful 45-minute expose on this whole issue about trans girls and trans women in sports. And he debunked everything. He just absolutely did. He took all of the claims about how trans women supposedly are just so much better at the sports and, outclassing genetic or biological females. He took each one of the arguments apart. And so what I've been doing is referencing and referring people to John Oliver because he just did such a great job. He really did. And the reality is a third grade transgender girl trying to participate on the soccer team, is going to harm no one.
Yeah.
She's probably going to be the worst player on the team. I mean, the Washington Post did this piece about a transgender girl. This is about 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, about a transgender teenage girl. She was a senior in high school who had, in Virginia, had to participate in the boys' team and the boys' track team. She was a shot put thrower and a discus thrower. She was the absolute worst player on the team. Okay?
Yep.
And in John Oliver's piece where he's interviewing the mother of, a softball, trans girl who's a softball player, and the mother is just like, don't let my daughter know, but she's the worst player on the team. Okay? So we just have to get past the rhetoric, okay? Yes. Because it's all fear. It's all fear mongering. It is. They're going to harm the girls. They're going to take away the scholarships. It's just not happening. Even Leah Thomas. I mean, she came in 5th. With Riley Gaines. They were tied. It is such a red herring.
Yes.
But they're using it as a way to push down my community. I hate it. And what it takes is you to self-educate yourself.
Yeah, I agree completely. And the purpose for me, of sports, and I bet a lot of these folks are the same people who hate participation trophies, right? The idea that everyone gets they hate all of that, and because they apparently think their kid is going to be the one that goes and plays pro, and 99.99% of them are not. The purpose for me of having played in sports was to learn, to learn camaraderie, to get some eye-hand coordination, which I didn't fully get some of the sports, right? But I mean, it's the benefit of benefits of working together, all those things.
There's something way bigger about sports, and that is developing friendships.
Right.
Okay. I became best friends on the 8th grade football team. He was the quarterback. His nickname is Thap. I was the frontline guard, okay? And back then, of course, I presented as a boy, And had I not been on that football team with Thap, I would never have developed a best friendship. He is absolutely my best friend. In fact, so much so, on my second book, which will be out next month, I write about how I became a part of his chosen family after I transitioned genders. Everybody in his family gets a family ring, and guess who else gets it? Ellie Krug, because I'm considered part of his family. Had I not had that relationship from 8th grade, I would never have had his support. And so, as I transition genders, so it's really, yes, it's about the eye-hand coordination, it's about getting in shape and all of that stuff. But really, it's about the friendships that you form. And I bet you've got listeners right now are like, oh yeah, I've got like this friend forever since we played on the same, baseball or softball or basketball or volleyball team together.
Yeah.
So it's just really important.
I agree.
In that way.
And I look, growing up, I remember more hearing people be mean, if somebody dressed a way that they thought was, too feminine. I mean, we've had that as part of this sort of, jocularity or teasing somebody. I have to tell you a weird story. I was on the playground where my son had gone to school from kindergarten to 6th grade, and my ex-boyfriend from high school happened to be on the playground. His kids also went there, which is such a weird thing. Another story for another day. But my ex-boyfriend found a sparkly headband on the playground, right? And he goes, "Hey, Jimmy, did you drop this? Is this yours?" Like, even as an adult, as a father,
oh my God.
Yes, I was like, oh my God, bullet dodged is all I'm saying. I had dated this guy in high school, to be fair, but I was like, here it was 2010. This is just about 12, 15 years ago, teasing a boy with a girl's headband, right? And I just remember thinking, like, why? What purpose? We still have these ideas of like what's feminine, what's masculine, and now we have a president and Republicans who want to say that there's only two sexes, meaning they don't understand gender, biology, or any of that. How do you make it through all of this madness, Ellie?
Well, it's interesting because I did a talk earlier today about Transgender 101 for legal professionals with a group of lawyers who actually provide ethics advice to other lawyers. And one of them asked me exactly that question about how do you survive. And then one of the lawyers on the call talked about how she just had come to understand that the kids today are far more accepting than us adults.
Yeah.
You know, and that for you go to any junior high or high school, and you put together a whole group of people, of students. They're all different skin colors. They're all different gender and sexuality identities, and they're just all kind of like hanging out. They don't care. And you know the statistics. Pew did a study, came out a couple of months ago, a poll about for Generation Z. These are born between 95 and 2010. That close to 30% of them identify as LGBTQ+. You know, the numbers are just going up in terms of people who are identifying on the spectrum of gender identity and sexuality. It is a wonderful thing. We just have to hope that our country survives long enough for them to get into positions of power.
Oh, I mean, you bring up a good point. When you say that our country survives long enough, what are your concerns? Like, I mean, when some of these things now come before the Supreme Court, because eventually they've already said that trans individuals serving in the military, that it's okay to expel them. Is that right? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yep, and that's on my list to talk with you about. That came down last week from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, what they did is they lifted a stay against Hegseth dismissing transgender members from the transgender service members. So they lifted the stay. The case is still proceeding towards the Supreme Court to fully hear it, but it doesn't matter because Hegseth, as you and I speak right now, transgender service members who have devoted decades to protecting you and me, okay, who have accumulated millions and millions of dollars of training and equipment, you know, that goes towards them specifically. They are being dismissed right now, as you and I speak. They are being drummed out of the military for no reason other than the fact that they happen to be transgender. That is the only reason. There is no showing that there's loss of unit cohesion, that in some way, you know, they're more interested in painting their fingernails than they are in protecting one of their team members. I mean, it is horrible, but that's what's happening right now in our country. And that's somewhere between 10 and 15,000 service members are going to be drummed out.
And is that based on how does the military determine, do trans individuals have to let their superiors know, their officers know that they are trans? I mean, is this just something that I don't...
Well, it's multifaceted. So, you know, when Obama was president, you know, there was a relaxation on trans people being able to come out into the military, all right? And then Trump won, you know, instituted a ban, but it did not fully get enforced, and we really didn't lose any service members. Biden comes in, reverses everything that Trump did, and then trans service members feel that it's okay. They're free now to come out in the military and to be who they are. And, of course, Trump, too, then changes all of that. So we have many trans service members who have come out. Then we have other trans service members who have reported, to your question specifically, that they had a diagnosis of gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is the discomfort that you feel between your brain and your body if you're transgender, that your brain doesn't match your body. And so the military required that if you've had a diagnosis maybe on the private sector about gender dysphoria, or if you've been seeing somebody in the military therapist, that you have to report that. And so some of it is self-reporting. You're right. And it's just, and of course, if they don't report,
right?
You know, if they don't report, I mean, then they face discipline. You know, in the military, before, as this was coming down, Hegseth developed this plan that if trans service members voluntarily, you know, separated from the military, that their pensions, military pensions would be intact. But if they did not voluntarily separate, if Hegseth had to force them out, that their military pensions then would be at risk, as well as they would have to pay back. They would have to pay back any enlistment bonus that they had received over the years.
Wow. Can you hang out with us for another segment, Ellie?
I absolutely can, Patty. I love being on your show and talking with you.
I appreciate it. Ellie Krug, the host of The Illegal Trans Woman on KTNF AM950 in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Writer, lawyer, human. You can go to elliekrug.com. That's ELLIEKRUG.com. And we'll continue our conversation when we come back on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KTNF AM950, and KKNW 1150 in Seattle, Washington.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
You've always wanted to drive a Porsche. What are you waiting for? Find your new Porsche at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. Browse and test drive our selection of pre-tariff cars ready for immediate delivery, like the 2025 Porsche Cayenne. And right now, lease the 2025 Macan Electric for only $999 a month for 39 months. Shop electric Porsche models and more by visiting the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park or PorscheExchange.com. 8,999 to its signing. Excludes tax, title, license, and dock fee. No security deposit required. Expires 6/2/25.
A tree can be a warrior, battling global challenges with greater courage. A tree can be a solution, cleaning our air, supporting our communities, and protecting our wildlife. A tree can be noble, growing hope in every corner of the world. That's why now is the time for trees. Millions of trees. Join our planting movement at arborday.org.
As farmers and ranchers, stewardship of the land comes naturally. Your work keeps our water clean, improves the soil, and enhances wildlife habitat. It also provides countless benefits, not just for you and your family, but for millions of Americans who depend on this region every day without even realizing it. Thank you for being stewards of America's prairie for all of us. Take a moment to find out how conservation pays. Visit conservationpays.org.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you for joining our conversation. And if you want to call or text, of course, our Credo mobile phone and text line is 773-763-9278. Credo Mobile, a progressive phone company that is better for all people and the planet. Visit credomobile.com. We are on the air live with Ellie Krug, the host of The Illegal Trans Woman on KTNF AM950. And you can go to elliekrug.com to learn more. That's ELLIEKRUG. And thank you so much for hanging out with us today, Ellie. There are, we worked really hard, of course, in the presidential election. I went door knocking and volunteering. I worked on Susan Crawford's race and Jill Underly for the superintendent of Wisconsin. And, it's easy for us to forget, it feels like elections are happening all the time, but we want to talk a little bit about some big news yesterday. What are your thoughts on this race in Omaha, Nebraska?
I know, Omaha is, a blue dot in a red state. I am just absolutely thrilled because John Ewing, who I think was had 20 plus years as in the Omaha Police Department, ran for mayor. He's an African American, and you may not know this, but Omaha has a history of racial issues, racial tension, and he defeated a 3-term white mayor. Who ran an anti-trans campaign against him towards the end, and he had a brilliant ad because it was a picture of the incumbent with her head poked under a stall. Okay, so you see her under a stall. Okay,
brilliant, yes.
And the tagline was she wants to look in potties, and John Ewing wants to fix potholes, and it obviously the strategy worked brilliantly.
Amazing.
He defeated this incumbent, who I understand was the longest term serving mayor in the country. All right, 3 terms as mayor. He defeated her by double digits. in the end. And so this is, Omaha has a kind of a blend between red and blue. There's no question about it, but it's certainly a blue dot in Nebraska. And that, along with some results out of Texas, there were in 6 different school districts in Texas, and part of this is a piece that showed up on Blue Sky by Daniel Nichinian with Bolts Magazine, who reported on 4, but that I researched, and there were 2 other. 6 total school districts in Texas. The conservative school board members were defeated, were kicked off board. That is, and that story hasn't gotten much traction in the national news. But that is, I'm a local school board member, out here in rural Minnesota, west of the Twin Cities, in suburbia, exurbia. This is a big story. It is red Texas, and Texas has gone so conservative as it relates to what they want to do with school curriculums and what they want to do with erasing, LGBTQ plus identities and social emotional learning and all that kind of stuff, which is incredibly important. If you are a kid right now, important towards you feeling safe in a school. And for that to happen in Texas, I think that is seismic. Omaha, incredibly important, okay? Absolutely. Ken Martin, the DNC chair, tweeted about how they had devoted a lot of resources to Ewing's campaign in Omaha. So good for them to be focusing on something so grassroots. But this thing in Texas, I think, is even way bigger.
Well, I'm just doing a quick research, and I didn't realize that there's a nationalist, a Christian nationalist PAC that was funded by a cell phone company to back 11 school board candidates in 2022, and 10 of them won, right? 10 out of 11. So these are amongst some of the people. As you mentioned, the fact that grassroots overcame, big deep pockets and corporate pockets, nonetheless, to say the least. And I'm assuming these are also beyond, trying to get into people's, to the kids' lives in ways that they're not welcome nor should they be in. But this is also a push for defunding public education, which is another push from the white Christian nationalists. So this is huge on all the levels that you're talking about.
Absolutely. School vouchers, for sure.
Yeah.
And Texas, the legislature just apparently passed a huge bill that Abbott's going to sign about, the largest school voucher program in the country. So, people are not having it. Patty, what we need to do, is it just has to be much larger. It has to be more unified. I don't know about the unified, but it has to be greater in mass. Okay, let me just tell you something I just started to do. I live in a purplish but more reddish county west of the Twin Cities. All right, for every Saturday since the middle of February, there has been a protest outside of Tom Emmer's local office in Chaska, Minnesota. And you have somewhere between 200 and 800 protesters with signs. Average age of those protesters is somewhere around 65 years old, okay? With signs as cars drive by, honking and all of that stuff. Well, I've decided that's not enough because that's happening for an hour every Saturday. That's not enough. So I have started standing on the busiest intersection in downtown Chaska, Minnesota, with one sign that says one word, resist, with 2 upside-down American flags. And I have just been standing there every Friday afternoon for an hour and 15 minutes, just letting cars go by and see that we need to resist. And what amazes me, Patty, is people stop, because it's an intersection, so it's a red light. They roll down the window, and they ask me, what are you resisting?
Uh-huh.
How can you not know? How can you not know?
Ellie, all of my listeners right now are like, tell Ellie about Frank. So we had a caller yesterday who was very annoyed with protesters, because he was going downtown. They were all on the train. They all had their signs. He's like, what are you all angry about? Right? And when I gave him some examples, you know what he said? That we should be working. That's always a thing, right? Get a job. And then when I talked about people who are providing care to seniors and like some of those folks who are being disproportionately affected by this as well, and just one of the issues, said that, well, then they should be volunteering instead of protesting. Like, these are the things that people say, Ellie. It's crazy. It's just the dumbest crap. I can't even. I know those are my words, not yours, by the way.
But I'll agree with dumbest crap. Patti, but it's got to, thank God some of the Democratic leaders are starting to wake up. Thank God we've got things going on in various places, but it has to become far more a greater mass of all of this happening. Yeah. And it has to happen more consistently and more frequently. I mean, literally, we have to be stopping cars in the roadway. Not that I'm advocating for breaking the law, but I mean, it's not until people fully come to understand what the hell is going on in our country. My God, he's going to take a $400 million bribe.
Yeah. Yeah, and these folks are good with it. They're like, oh, well, we got the Statue of Liberty, because President Cleveland certainly used that for his own personal comfort and luxury. He took that home with him, put it in his backyard. Yeah, that's exactly. At any rate, don't get me started, Ellie. Ellie, it's always great talking to you. And by the way, if something comes up that you want to talk about, and you're like, I'd love to jump on and talk about it with our listeners, don't hesitate. But obviously, we talk to you every month. But if there's something you want to jump on, please do not hesitate. That you want us to know about or ring some alarm bells. Our microphone's always open to you.
I may do that next month with this committee decision when it comes down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Again, Ellie.
All right, well, thank you for having me, Patti. I love being on your show.
Oh, I love having you on. My pleasure. Have a good evening.
Okay, take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Let's take a break here, and we'll continue our conversation when we come back. Our Credo phone line is open, the phone and text line by Credo Mobile, 773-763-9278. More after this on WCPT, KKNW, and KTNF.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Cloudy skies tonight with areas of fog and a low temperature of 56 degrees. Scattered showers and storms Thursday with a high temperature of 88. Could see one or two strong storms. Winds out of the south at 15 to 30 miles an hour. Friday, a few showers in the afternoon with a high temperature of 87. Saturday, sunny, 73. Sunny and cooler Sunday with a high temperature around 59 degrees. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 73.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-365-6303. 800-365-6303. 800-365-6303. That's 800-365-6303.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind for parents if a child is sick or gets injured. And parents may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if they've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit InsureKidsNow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now.
All right, let's hit it.
At 773-763-9278.
I got a lot to say.
He's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. If you're just joining us, we've had some great conversations throughout the show, and I started the show in the first hour talking about these cuts that Republicans are proposing that would slash $880 billion from Medicaid, cut SNAP benefits for 42 million Americans. And I do want to know what your thoughts are, whether it's in regards to these proposed cuts. I know we've talked over the last few months, a lot of people who are worried about how this is going to affect their families, the people that they love. We talked to our friend Paul earlier from Seattle about some of that he cares about that will be at risk if a lot of these supports are cut. And a lot of people in all of our communities, all of us know someone, love someone who receives support, and it might be catastrophic, and it's not even for those who hate listen to the show and think that the people, whatever horrible language you want to use for people who need assistance, because we disproportionately benefit the billionaires in this country, and for some reason absolutely regard them as deserving of not being even held to the same standard of accountability to whether it's the law or dignity and respect given to people that are in our neighborhoods. That's one issue. I want to know if you have any thoughts on that. Another story that I've been following today. By the way, I was watching the Health and Human Services hearing today that we played a little bit of a clip from, and don't even get me started on the fact that this guy was in a body of water that has been off limits for people to publicly swim in. Have you seen this, Lady B? And I don't have this rolled up correctly, do I? It says Comrex, so I can't pull you up on the board, and I don't know how to fix it. Let me see if I can. I don't know that this is one of those things I keep forgetting to ask if I can. Let's see. Oh, wait. It's rolling through. I think I remember. Is it program? No, it's not that one. No. Is it T? Oh, it's go all the way to T, Lady B says. T program B? That's the one? Let me see if it comes on. I've got it. Let me see, Lady B. Let's see if it's you or me. And let's see. Oh, no, I'm not going to be able to hear that. Do I have to put, let's see, but it says hold to select. Do I turn that off? See where this is bad? It's bad radio for me to not know how to run this end of the board. Look, the AB is still lit up. Do I have to push something different on that? I'm trying to, how about online? That's off. Nope. It says hold to select, but it's not turning off, Lady. Come here and fix it. You can come here and take care of it. Because I'll talk about it for a minute. RFK Jr. Over the weekend shared photos of him with some, I don't know who the kids were, but in this like crick or something. I said crick because it's just fun to say. But in this body of water that has been off limits to people because of the high levels. And now it's back to Comrex. So go all the way to T, right? We go there. Lady B's in the studio with me. Oh. What was it?
And then
let's
select.
See. See? I know it's a lot going on. I couldn't get that one to go off. Okay, select there, and then we'll go all the way to talk. Hi, everybody watching on Facebook. This is how we fix the board. It is like landing a plane in here sometimes.
And then select.
Select.
And then
okay.
Should be on.
All right, let's see if we can talk to Lady B now, because so there was testimony today for the Health and Human Services, and RFK Jr. was being asked questions on different issues, and some folks use the time to share their thoughts and their values. But one woman from Louisiana, one congresswoman, was talking about how the high rates of cancer in Louisiana, and I was like, well, yeah, because we've removed the regulations from corporations to make sure that our water and our air is clean. At any rate, have you seen these images of RFK Jr., Lady B?
No, I haven't.
Have you heard about? Oh, it's so weird. It's just the fact that our kids, that our families, our ability to care for each other is in this guy's hands is crazy to me.
It's crazy. And I know that he was trying to come to Chicago so we can register our autistic kids.
Oh, yeah, no.
And Pritzker said no. That's why I love my governor.
Big no. But I don't know if enough folks know that Governor Pritzker issued an executive order forbidding data collection for general purposes like that to put our kids in a category of, How dare he? Yeah. He
wants to track down our kids.
Yeah,
but you want to cut off all our the programs. Are you kidding me?
Exactly. I have not had a chance to do a deep dive on early intervention. Were you able to get early intervention when your baby was little?
I didn't find out until 2 years old.
Okay.
And it took me a while because I quit my job. I had to take care of her and my oldest son and my youngest son, and I kept going to doctors, and they sort of gave me the runaround. But then,
did they tell you things like everything's okay?
Yes.
She's just going through a phase. She's just a little bit behind. She's just a little bit late. Yeah, we got some of that too. Yeah,
and it was frustrating. And then I finally went to Children's Memorial.
Okay,
but I kind of didn't like the doctor.
Did you have a neurologist or would you?
It was neurologist that they did the testing and stuff. But she was unprofessional.
Was she kind of a Nordic looking woman? I don't want to give any names, but blonde hair, a little bit older. Because our kids are only about 10 years apart, I think.
Right, and it's just she used the art word, and for you to be a professional doctor. And I've ran into a lot of doctors that like, what's wrong with her? Aren't you a doctor?
Oh my God!
It's insulting and frustrating.
Yep.
And it just pisses me off.
I don't blame you.
I'm
mad for you.
And you're supposed to be a professional.
Yep.
To use those words to react like that towards our kids, are you kidding me?
I know.
You are a pediatrician and you're supposed to care?
That's terrible. No. Oh, I'm so sorry, Lady B.
No.
Yeah, and you would have got a doctor in the 90s, but I think when the rates were because they weren't diagnosing. People were like, how come there's so many more people with autism now? Is the same way people, it would be like saying, how come we have so many more planets than we did or so many more stars than we did? Because we have better technology and better microscopes. We have better medical, understanding of neurological development. And we're not even there yet. We only know a small percentage.
Right.
But the idea is, and I told you I sort of had a back and forth with really good friends that I absolutely adore who also have an adult son with autism. They're like, well, what if we find answers? But he's not looking for answers. He's looking to validate his assumption that it's environmental and vaccinations, and that's different than science.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. Don't get me angry. Don't get us angry. These mamas are going to get angry.
Right.
Just saying. So the Health and Human Services hearing today was so weird because, again, this legislator from Louisiana was talking about the high rates of cancer in her part of the country. And I was thinking about this because I mentioned this a few weeks ago with another individual who was doing research on these cancer clusters. After my friend Kristen died, because she grew up in Baton Rouge, her sister had also died at a young age from breast cancer within years of each other. And so I looked where they grew up, and they did grow up in this cancer alley where a lot of petroleum companies have chemicals that have leached into the water supply, into the ground soil. And I say this in part because the idea that RFK Jr. Has a vision that includes making sure that our air is clean and our water is clean, and then he's going swimming in it back because apparently he doesn't think it matters. Apparently they think that, like Flint, Michigan, you should go ahead and drink that brown water and let your kids be exposed to those contaminants. I will be off, and so this is all kind of comes together a little bit. I will be in New Orleans on Saturday to celebrate my good friend Kristen McAllister's life. She was from Baton Rouge, and I'm going down to celebrate with her friends and her family and do a second line with them. So I will be off on Friday, and filling in for me will be Ken Mejia Beal. And if I understood his text correctly or his email correctly, I believe Elliot Serrano is joining him. I'm not sure, but definitely Ken Mejia Beal will be in on Friday filling in for me. So make sure you're tuned into that wonderful show. I know that you'll have a good time with them. And tomorrow I'm going to have on the show Sierra Soroka, who's a young musician, has a new album coming out on May 19th. So she's from the neighborhood, and I went to high school with their dad, and I saw here's a dad who really wants his daughter to succeed. And I thought, sure, I would love to have an interview with her. So we'll talk to Sierra tomorrow. Lynn Pecati, who is the managing director of policy and advocacy work at Groundwork Collaborative, and a former labor policy director for the U.S. Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, and Kayla Ragona, who is a board member of Seattle Indivisible, because we want to know more about what folks are doing all over the country, including our friends on the West Coast, listening on KKNW, and keep you informed of what's going on. Let's take a break here, and we'll head into the home stretch in just a moment on WCPT 820, KKNW, and KTNF.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive.
Greg is on the line from Lake in the Hills.
I always recommend your show to everybody. I just really like your style. I like that you're a reporter, that you've got a background in reporting, and I just find your show and all your guests, like Jim especially, and Bobby and Dave, I think it is. I listen to all the time, and, you're great.
Joan Esposito, weekday afternoons 2 to 5 on WCPT 820.
It's your captain speaking. To the passenger with the Mirror Fast soft shoes, smart move.
No way am I letting travel constipation ruin this trip.
Can't blame you. Mirror Fast works fast, but without the harsh side effects.
Since I'm such a smart traveler, can I move to first class?
No. Close the curtain, Carol.
From the makers of Miralax, new Mirafast soft chews work naturally with your body in as little as 30 minutes to give you a comfortable go on the go. Find Mirafast today at your local retailer. Use as directed for occasional constipation. Contains magnesium hydroxide.
There are 1,000 ways to say it.
Nope. Knock it off. Shut it down. Dream on. No dice. Give it a rest. Not a chance.
Or just
all text. You focus on the road.
As a passenger, you have the power to prevent an accident. There are 1,000 ways to stop a distracted driver. Choose one.
A message from CTIA.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Vasquez is taking your calls now.
All right, let's hit it.
At 773-763-9278.
I got a lot to say.
It's Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Say shout out to Andy Miles, who prints out a live read sheet for me every single day, and I maybe get a third of these done, Lady B, while on here today. I think I've checked every single box except for the last one, which is which one? Anniversary page. Be sure to visit WCPT's 20th anniversary page at heartlandsignal.com/anniversary. There you'll find an audio player that includes our full 4.5-hour May 3rd broadcast and all the different conversations we had that day with special guests, including Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, Jill Winebanks, and Tom Hartman. Plus, you'll see photos covering 20 years of WCPT. We're going to get yours in there, Dave, from Hoffman Says, I promise. Right up to our May 3rd shindig at Max and Benny's. So thank you so much to everyone who joined us and everyone who celebrates with us and continuing to listen to us as we head towards 20 more. What do you think, Lady B? How do you think I'll be in my 70s? I look forward to that as well. 70s, 80s, well, till they tell me I can't be here anymore. That's what it's going to take. We are taking your calls on the Credo mobile phone and text line, which is 773-763-9278. And we have Cheryl from Streamwood on the line. Hey, Cheryl, how are you doing? What's on your mind, my friend?
Good. A couple of things. First of all, RFK was taking his grandchildren with him swimming in Rock Creek, which really grosses me out. As a grandma, I do everything I can to keep my kids safe. I would no more take them where there was fecal matter in the water than I would.
Right?
Anyway.
Yes.
Indivisible last night in the northwest suburbs had a pizza party at Marotti's. Mariotti's, I believe.
Moretti's. I'm familiar. Yeah, Moretti's. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was wonderful. There were about probably between 35 and 40 of us. We were just sitting around talking, no politics allowed, so it was a nice light evening. I met some new friends, had a great time, and I would encourage everybody to check out indivisible.org, put in your zip code, and then they'll get you into the right group. They've got a number of events coming up, starting with, I believe there's one on Saturday, which is for remembering our veterans.
Oh, nice.
And there's one on the 31st as well.
Well,
the one on the 31st is in Elk Grove.
Excellent. I appreciate that. So Indivisible, I know that I've signed up for, I get newsletters from my Indivisible Northwest side, which has started, and I should have reminded folks last night, and thank you for the reminder. I will let folks know in the future about events, because I believe they had one yesterday at the Irish American Heritage Center, and I was on the air for most of it, but I need to make sure that I'm more invested and involved in that, and that as well. Now, I need you to do me a favor. Maybe I need to connect with you at some point and give you a bunch of my pens with the information for our show. Tell them to listen to WCPT, Cheryl.
Oh, I'll be happy to pass it out. I was mentioning you last night.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
No, I am a firm listener and a firm believer in the things you're talking about. I've listened to Progressive Talk ever since it was Air America, so that's fine.
I appreciate that.
Long-time listener.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and thank you for reminding us about Indivisible. Are you going to the Hands Across Chicago this weekend?
I certainly am.
Excellent.
My position is going to be at 2400, I believe it's US 34 in Lisle.
Okay.
So look for me as you're driving by because I'll be waving.
You know what? I'm going to look up and see what they're doing in New Orleans. I'll bet you I can get to one of the protests in New Orleans and so I can join in on. I know my friend Kristen would love for me to be at that protest too. So I'll make sure that I'm on.
I think it'll be a wonderful thing. We're going to all the way from Aurora to downtown Chicago.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to hearing how it went. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll call back in. Have a good day.
You too. That was wonderful. Thank you so much for calling. And we've got Roosevelt on the line. Hi, Roosevelt. What's on your mind, my friend?
Patty, thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, but sometimes you say it in a way like I'm in trouble. I'm not like,
No, you're not. Actually, it's the opposite.
Okay.
So here's the thing.
Okay.
I know you and Lady B are way younger than me, but as a kid, we used to say, Clapton is God. Okay? There's a famous sign. You know what I'm referring to?
Do you mean Eric? Because I would not think that was. Oh, God.
Yes,
okay.
yes. Clapton is God. There's a dog.
He's a little
Look it up.
He's a little complicated.
Just put that on the internet.
Okay.
Clapton is God.
Okay.
So here's my question to you. Are you sure you're not God? Because the way you were talking about an hour ago, I would have thought you were a religious freak, God, thinking of others, thinking of the sick. Get it? Look it up. Clapton is God, okay? It's funny. The picture's funny. I want Lady B to look it up. Clapton is God.
What's interesting about that, Clapton is God, 1960s meme referencing the English guitarist. The line was popularized after being spray painted on a wall in London during the mid-1960s when Clapton was a member of the Yardbirds and John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, creating the cult of the guitar hero.
Yeah, but did you see the picture?
Yes.
There's a picture.
Oh, he's taking a leak on the wall? Is that what's happening?
Bingo. Wait a minute. Don't take it that far. I don't mean it towards you. I'm just referring to the words. No. You know what I'm saying.
Yes.
I'm saying don't look at the
picture.
Don't pay any attention to the dog.
Pay no attention to the dog whizzing on the wall. Okay,
yeah. So, no, what I'm trying to get at is
I know.
That's what's missing, that all these people don't put themselves in another person's shoes. And that starts with people that constantly, complain and all that. And to be honest with you, if their ancestors, when they first came here, these same people that, constantly complain and all this, they wouldn't even let their ancestors, their great-grandmothers and their great-great-grandfathers. And it to me, what really, surprises me is when they have that program Roots. Do you ever watch that program Roots?
Kunta Kinte? I loved that series.
No. No. The program on public television, Roots.
I was going to say, I love, in the 70s, I love the miniseries. No, the one where you track, celebrities' family tree.
Bingo.
Yeah, sure.
Bingo. And I'm going to give you one example.
I'm going to tell you something. Before you go through this, I just have to tell you, my husband loves that show and is always, showing me clips.
I love that show, man. I love that show. I've seen the one about Eva Longoria. I've seen the one with Ana Navarro. Lin-Manuel Miranda. All these people. And it's so interesting that when you think about it, and I wish they did it with the new Pope. That would be great.
Oh, right.
And that's another thing I have another question for you. How do you like having the first black Pope? Because let's face it,
he's Creole, baby. Yep.
He is Creole. So,
amazing. Yep.
We have the first black. I mean, let's face it, the way these laws were written centuries ago.
The one-drop rule?
Even if you had...
Sorry.
Yes, exactly what I'm getting at.
I didn't mean to cut you off. You were getting there. Go ahead.
No. I'm glad you did. Because this way we know we're on the same wavelength.
Yes.
So when you think about it, I mean, come on. You got to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And that's what I always do. And maybe I don't know if it's taught. But
I know.
It really...
You're in my head. You're in my head now. I was gonna give you continue. I don't know if it's taught either.
Yeah. Because when I was in Mexico, I seen my grandfather die. I seen my grandmother die. I lived there for only 6 years out of my life. But it made an impression, and it made me love my original country that I was born in, and appreciate this country also.
Yeah.
Because but he always used to say. Famous saying from my grandfather: "If you're not well, if you you cannot help other people." It was just left an impression on me.
Well, that's, I sometimes talk about my career in the sense that, there are people who are very ambitious and driven by the rewards of money, right? And my goal was always to entertain people and to connect with audiences and tell a story. I always felt like I had a story to tell. Obviously, I have a microphone in front of my face 5 days out of the week, sometimes 6 or 7, depending on how many comedy shows I do. But I've had opportunities. And I've just been like, I like what I do. I've had people get mad at me because they're like, oh, you should be farther along. You should have more money. You should be more famous. And it's like,
yeah.
I do what I do during the day. This is a balance. Today I spent the entire day working on what the impact of cutting SNAP benefits will have, not just on the recipients, but on our agricultural neighbor, people who are farmers or, bring goods to the farmers markets. I mean, this is going to have a devastating impact on not just Illinois, but on states across the country.
Patty, let me interrupt you for a second. But you know what? We're all connected one way or the other as far as what we do. Like you said, the farmers, we're all connected somewhere. Somehow we are. And what I mean by when I said I mean healthy. You know, if you're not healthy, you can't help other people. And it left an impression on me as a kid, because that you know, you think of others and you tend to appreciate what you got. That's another thing. People don't appreciate what they have. And look at these guys. They have multi-billion dollars. Trump, in my opinion, is aiming to be the richest man in the world. I think that's his goal. He treats it like a game. Elon Musk, it's like a game. It's a game to these guys.
Yeah.
It's entertainment.
They think it's funny.
That's what I think it is.
Yeah, they have no problem people suffering. We're going to have this conversation more, I know, in the days, weeks, months, and years to come. Like, how do we encourage people to consider what other people are going through? And I don't know how you get that. I don't know how you cut through that. I really don't. My dad was a Republican, and he cared for people. I don't think he would have voted for Trump. Like, he really wanted to make sure people were okay, even though he was whatever it was he thought made him a Republican. I know he voted for Gore in his last election, and that made me very happy. I know.
Oh, wow.
I've got to run. All right, I feel so bad for Marcy. Tell Marcy we'll try to take her another time because it's the end of the show. Thank you so much, Roosevelt. Have a good night. Thank you to all of our sponsors, Source Solar, Minocqua Brewing Company, and Kids Above All. And thank you to our friends listening on KTNF AM950. KTNF AM950, KKNW 1150, and here on WCPT. Bye, everybody. Love you, Lady B.
WCPT replay.
We are proud to have U.S. Representative Nikki Bazinski with us here this morning.